great to have Bruce here. I'm just sitting here. I poured Bruce a coffee, a Vietnamese, so a special delicacy that we have here, and it's been quite nice just sitting back here sipping coffee. It's sort of like a fireside chat, but we haven't got a fire because we're in the Philippines, so
It's hot enough.
it's hot enough without doing that. So we're very lucky to have Bruce in the office here. So I thought I'm going to take this chance and um, get Bruce in the front of a camera and a microphone and sort of pick his brains so he can tell us a bit about himself and a bit about what he's been up to and what he's looking forward to in the future. So
Be careful what you ask for.
yeah, that's what I mean. So why don't we just get a bit of a what do you call it, the 1 minute, 2 minute overview of what you're doing and what you've been up to.
All right. So we'll talk about kind of how we got here. I think first, I think it goes back to running a traditional accounting firm for 25 years, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And learning about technology and trying to figure out how the technology would fit into kind of the accounting profession and what we were doing at the time. And I always I like to I call it throw shit against the wall, and you see something that's new, you want to try it, and I kind of went all in on the whole online accounting, and you were early. It was like 2009 I think ish, and started getting into it in like 2012. Was one of the first zero partners in the U.S.
Because I remember seeing, first time I saw you was at a ZeroCon in Auckland, in New Zealand.
I don't know what year that was, but yeah, that was kind of the epitome of going all in, right?
Yeah.
I remember you won some award and you were wearing some big pop hat or something, and well, I was like, that's a big guy. Yeah, and but no, that was kind of the start of it, and we did really well. We were one of the first to do everything. We were having to figure out as we went, because there wasn't a lot of there weren't guides.
There was no one else like you as a model, especially in the US. In New Zealand, there was a few starting to do the cloud accounting thing, but I hadn't seen anyone in the US until I met you.
And it kind of went on, and before you knew it, all the people weren't in the office anymore. Everyone was remote. I hired one of your former staff from the island, Sharon. Shout out to Sharon.
Yeah.
Who's still with Aprio. She already kind of knew what she was doing and was a big help to everybody. She came to the U.S. She stayed at my house. I remember. Things kind of went along, and we were doing really well, and I was 55 years old or whatever. Started to think about, what does this look like going forward? And, didn't know if you should.
Well, did you have any plans back then, or no?
I was just starting to think about it. And,
yeah,
do you sell to your team? Do you sell out? Do you retire? Do you merge in with somebody? It was kind of early on in this game anyways. And, I was fortunate that, we had grown, from really doing, I want to say like, $10,000 a month up to, I think we were doing $500,000 a month or whatever, give or take. And, I got a call from Richard Kopelman, who's now managing partner and CEO of Aprio. And, it was like beginning of 2018, I think. And, he and I had worked together almost 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
And he was a staff person or a senior manager, I can't remember, with Aprio, and I was kind of running my firm. And we worked together. We kind of hit it off. We stayed in touch over the years. And when he called, I was like, well, I kind of know what you want to talk about. Let's have a conversation. And I put together some talking points and some things about kind of what it might look like if we did something. And sure enough, we kind of rekindled our friendship, and within 90 days we had a deal. And
yeah,
so we took
which was there any skepticism back then, because from having your own thing going into a big firm like Aprio?
I don't remember who told me. I remember talking to somebody, and it was like, the biggest thing when you're your own boss for 20 years is, can you go work for someone else?
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I had kind of a big personality at the time, and they're like, well, and somebody said to me, I don't remember who it was, but I remember it vividly. It said, it's not, the risk of going to work for somebody else. It's actually the risk of not going to do it. And then what happens? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was fortunate enough that, the partners in the board and Richard at Aprio, allowed me to, I would say, still be me and still kind of run the business the way we did, which, wasn't always the smoothest of things, going into a large firm, a lot of departments. But we didn't want a CPA firm eyes what we did. And, slowly but surely it got fully integrated and things happening. I think we, might have tripled over like 5 years. Jeez. And I made a commitment, to stick around for 5 years. And I ran the managed services group. Over that time, Aprio started going on some acquisition spree.
Well, that's common thread now with I suppose if accountants are listening to this, especially in the US, there's a lot of private equity buying and a lot of accounting firms, bigger, larger ones, I suppose, like Aprio buying other firms. So what you went through was actually went well.
And I had like 5, must-haves or whatever at the beginning. And a couple of the things were being able to offer more things to our clients, which was that was always a big win. Clients that could grow with us versus outgrowing us.
Yeah.
The team, many of them, doubled what they were making over 5 years and, still did really well in their careers. That was amazing. And of course I had my, I didn't have to worry about an exit anymore. It was already, the deal was done. It was planned. And when the time came in 2023, when I hit my 5 years, and that was, I was like, you know what? I think it might be time to think about doing something else. And
oh no. It's funny when I get a hold of you, I never know where to find you. It's either Bozeman, Boston, Costa Rica. You've just been in Thailand. It's like
impulsive.
Very impulsive.
I live in Costa Rica most of the time. I bought a second boat.
Yeah.
And I brought it up from Florida to Boston. I lived on it in the summer. Now I turned it into a business.
Yeah.
Kept in touch with a lot of the people that were in our accounting environment. Software companies.
I heard I forget where it was. Someone said about getting work-life balance, and I think you've found that. I think because you live and work, you do a bit of both.
More living than working right now.
Yeah,
but it was working. I was telling somebody 7 days a week for 30 years, and now you can kind of reap the benefits a little bit, but I still get, I would say, excited about, ways to take some of the things that we've learned or some of the opportunities that present themselves, like, offshoring and doing work with you here. And we'll talk
so
about
maybe,
that.
I was going to say that maybe we take a step back and explain how that happened, how that all got going through our mutual friend.
Yeah, Raul. We met in 2000, I want to say 12 or 13.
Yeah.
You were nice enough to let me stay at your brother's house.
Yeah.
I visited New Zealand for the first time. I spent 3 weeks there. It was amazing. Since then, I think after that, I went to Australia at least 4 times. Other than the 24 hours to get there, it's great. But I guess back then I met Marvin Galang, who is fairly well known in the circles that we run in.
Yeah.
And started doing business with him and his company and having a couple people in the Philippines to work. And there are all kinds of reasons that people chose the Philippines, and there's all kinds of reasons why people chose to offshore. Versus outsourcing. But it worked really well for us. We had a few people that grew when we, sold to Aprio in 2018. I don't remember how many people we had in the Philippines, but it was a decent amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was more than I think it was more than a dozen.
Yeah.
And things were going really well. It was early on in the game, but somehow, some way, we reconnected. You had already sold your practice in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And you were doing the stuff in the Philippines. And I was like, what? You should talk to Marvin. Marvin, you should talk to Wayne. And, next thing you know, you guys were kind of coming together, and it's gone off like a rocket ship the last.
Oh, yeah.
It was 7 years now.
Yeah. It was our eighth anniversary in July. So,
but yeah, the teams have grown, from the time we joined Aprio in 2018 till the time I left. I mean, hundreds of people.
You grew.
Yeah, we
under Aprio
grew. It was something was working. And it wasn't just about, the cost savings. The cost savings is a big, motivator. But, doing business in the U.S. is hard. Employees are expensive. The government gets involved, and, but people here are great. They're loyal. They're smart. They're educated. And frankly, they, I think they really loved being part of a large growing U.S. company, and it became like a little family.
Well, I must say that of all the people that have implemented offshoring, I think Aprio and the way you did it with that team was probably the best I've seen.
Yeah.
Because you treated it, I always say, what you put in is what you get out, and you invested in it properly.
Well, we realized as we grew, you know what, we need someone to manage it. So we hire a guy, person to manage that, and he's been great. He's still there. He's still doing it, And, we told people, if you want to get the most out of it, you need to, treat everybody here like they're actually a member of the team. You're not just offshoring, and they're not just a contract.
Like it's listed on the website, isn't it?
Yeah. They just happen to be sitting in the Philippines, and being contracted through a third party.
Yep.
Not because they have to be, more because it just logistically, a lot of people don't, you don't know anything about doing business in the Philippines. You don't know the local customs. You don't know about security and computers and access and, all that stuff. So it's really good to work through somebody that takes care of all of that.
Yeah.
And we did that.
Yeah.
And then, eventually it got so big that you're like, wow, maybe it makes sense to think outside the box. And we actually, formed our own legal entity.
Well, we went into this knowing that was going to be an eventuality.
Yeah.
We'd planned for it.
When you get to hundreds of people.
Yeah.
We worked through a smooth transition. We, always kind of shared things, and, it's gone really well. And it's funny, having left Aprio and the hundreds of people that are there, and now I'm working more with you and the hundreds of people who are here. And
and we're still working with Aprio, even though Aprio, they're right next door to us.
Yeah.
And we have a
Same
floor, but we have Aprio Sourcing now, which is a joint venture with Aprio.
And frankly, allowing, Aprio's clients and also other firms that are part of the, the alliance and everything to have access to some of the things that we created over here.
So it's like a full circle. It's all right round.
It's good for everybody.
It is. It was a win-win.
And when it's not even about competition anymore. It's just when the ocean rises, everybody rises.
Yeah.
And it's great for the people here and their families, and they get taken care of. And
So Aprio, because the good thing was there was always people from the US in the office, and by investing in it, a lot of the leaders and people, the doers, like from the IT team, they were always in training, and vice versa. You did bring people back I know you brought the tax team back to Atlanta for tax seasons.
Part of their, part of treating them like they're part of the team is, you have to invest time coming over here. You bring people over there. It's another benefit to everybody to get to meet the people, face to face, and see the cultural differences. And
it was never seen as an us and them. It was always the one team that Aprio. You were just part of Aprio. Backroom managed them and ran them, but really you were wearing Aprio t-shirts, and they thought of themselves as part of the Aprio team. But the backroom was sort of like a mutual sort of partnership there.
So I think it's good to talk about, why offshoring. And again, staffing concerns, not just in the U.S., but everywhere. So if you can open up another market to have access to more trained accountants, that's just a good thing. The fact that they happen to be sitting halfway around the world, it costs a little bit less.
Well, modern accounting is it means that they're right next door, more or less.
Yeah.
And now we've also got our office in Colombia now as well. So it's like you can get them on the same time zone, which is
It's funny. I used to pitch to people that they're half a world away, but imagine if you have things for them to do. You go to bed, and when you get up in the morning and you come in, all your stuff is done. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
Some people actually like them like a virtual assistant to work at the same time zone, and that's why you have 3 shifts over here. And I think that's also why the back room is diversifying geographically.
Yeah.
To have some different time zones to make it easier. There's a lot of offshoring now in Colombia and Argentina.
Because we're really doing accounting in South America. So it is, it's something that's good for us. And it's definitely something when you talk to the US market, they like that nearshoring aspect as well. Yeah, it's not far to go.
And for the people that want the same time zone thing, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
I think there's different people that want different.
Yeah, you can get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. But it's been a good ride.
Some of the role, if I was talking about the roles that you hired, it just wasn't bookkeepers or tax people. You hired.
I think it started that way.
Yeah.
And, eventually we said, hey, listen, the team is so good that we shouldn't just look at them as coding transactions or paying bills. I mean, they can do a full close.
Yeah.
And the idea is that, they do the full close, they do the write-up, they do the financials, they do everything, and they hand we'll call it a senior or manager or account representative in the U.S. a package.
Yeah.
And then we'll review that package, and then they go through it with the client, and they focus on the client relationship, not doing the work.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit different. And eventually it got to not only just accounting, but then, looks like we can do tax over here too. Great. We'll train them how to do U.S. taxes, and they want to learn, right?
Yeah.
Some of them come out of the, working
out of the big
firms and out of your grad programs. And it went so far even to hire very experienced M&A type people to do M&A consulting and action work.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So it goes across the entire spectrum.
Yeah, I know you had NetSuite people there as well.
And it wasn't just Xero and QuickBooks. And it was NetSuite. It was, M&A, transaction advisory, board after it was tax, audit, you name it.
Yeah.
The team wants to learn.
Yeah.
And, it just makes a lot of sense to augment the team, and especially when staffing is so difficult.
Yeah, it is. And it's a common thing right across the globe is that shortage. And it's interesting where that will go and also and how AI will impact on that. Do you see that as being a solution to the staffing shortages, or do you see it as something different?
Yeah, well, that's what I was doing now. And after taking the accounting online and doing all that things, and eliminating paper and eliminating a lot of the manual work. I think the next iteration is utilizing AI, not to replace accountants, but to augment how they work, allow them to work better, faster, smarter, more efficiently. And I think it's going to start. With some colleagues of mine, we started a new accounting domain specific AI accounting platform called Archie.
Yeah,
and we're going to be rolling that out here shortly. And basically, I think it's the next iteration of changing the way accountants work. And that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And there's a lot of accounting, or you call it out there, the CPAs are wondering what the impact will be and how it will help them or hinder them. But I think from an accounting staff member, I think it's going to be a help, not a challenge or a problem, because you're going to have this assistant right next to you that you can get all the information you need at the beck and call. And for the CPA owners, it means that you can have more efficient staff, and then you can get things done at a faster pace.
And AI will, in theory at least, learn faster and better than a person. They can absorb more data. They can, you know, a human brain can only use as such a percentage. But I envision that the way it starts is kind of like an AI copilot.
Yep.
You know, people are using copilot things all the time, but the regular copilots like the Microsoft and Google Genesis and all the other things, they're generic.
Yeah.
And imagine if that generic copilot was an accountant, was a trained accountant, and was learning as you go. And I think that's the game.
That's the exciting thing.
And eventually, that copilot or that AI, assistant that's sitting on your second screen or third screen, or as how you change the way you work, will actually be able to do tasks.
Yeah.
And you will tell it to reconcile my bank, close my books, do a tax plan for this person. All that's going to happen.
It's going to
just don't know how
soon it will happen. And the trust factor as well is a big thing. Like you have your early adopters, and then we saw, say, let's pick on Xero, how that evolved and how long that took, and the cloud accounting, how long people went paperless, how long that took.
I never forget that slide up at one of the Xero cons. It was a shark, and I liked it, the shark. It was like your early adopters eat the late.
Yeah.
And it showed that, on the big curve like this, we were basically right here.
Yeah.
And then it was, and now we're probably maybe here. But in AI, we're like,
we're way down.
We haven't even started. It's still going flat.
Yeah.
I do think that, it's a fact that the AI is moving way faster than anybody thinks it is. And I believe that, the task thing's it's not going to take 5 years.
No, it will be out there shortly. It is already out there in some ways, with the robotics and the processing.
So, and beside, the idea of being a co-pilot and then being able to do tasks, it'll enable you to do a series of tasks and tell you what you need to do.
Yeah.
And eventually, become, a staff person in itself, because it's going to train the accountant. And then what the person's role is going to be is learning how to use it and work with it.
Yeah.
And get the most out of it, and have the clients get the most out of it.
That's the thing. Yeah. And a lot of it's around data and having secure data.
Yep.
And that's a big,
we're starting,
you get that trust
right from the beginning.
Yeah.
It has to be secure, because, accountants aren't going to upload their data without it being secure.
Yeah.
But, the whole idea of, working with the back room too here is that we can actually help the back room become more efficient and help the team here become more efficient.
Well, we see it, you guys, we want to embrace it, especially around our knowledge. We see that as our first steps with the training.
And you're doing business in New Zealand, Australia, UK, and US. And the neat thing is it'll learn the differences between all that stuff, and it'll learn it just as well as a person, maybe a little bit better.
So it'll be interesting to do this in 6 months' time.
We should definitely sit down again in 6 months' time, and then maybe a year's time, and I think you'll be surprised at how far
how the hell this goes.
It comes.
Yeah. So we've covered. Just looking at what we were going to cover off, and I think we've covered over most of that. So I think I'm pretty happy that you're here. It's amazing what we were going to plan on talking about and how it evolves, but I think we've actually done very well.
Yeah. So I love coming over here. Thanks for hosting. I love being involved in what the back room is doing, and kudos to you and your brother and everybody here for what you've created in 8 years. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's the number of people that you have, and the whole.
Well, I think I know you were here for a Christmas party, and I think if anyone ever wants to enjoy an event, I think
it's off the chart.
It's off the chart.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah, it was very entertaining. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it. All right. Cheers.